Live from the Betfred Studios in Cincinnati, Ohio, the Cincinnati Beer Fest Studios in Northern Kentucky. It's Bengal Jim and Friends special Draft Night edition brought to you by Gold Star Chili, our very special guest, Brian Bosarge from Draft Countdown. And somewhere is Bengal Jim himself, somewhere, I don't know, chasing Kay Adams, doing something in Kansas City. But nonetheless, James, it kind of feels like the NFL year really just started. It's draft night. It's finally here. All the guessing, speculation, reading, all that is over. We're finally here.
It's Christmas Day all over again. You know, I was listening to Cincy Sports Talk, and there were some people that are like, it's too late. I don't get excited about it. This is Christmas part two. I mean, the NFL machine as we know it makes the NFL 365 days a year, 24/7. And this is just a continuation of it. This is Christmas, what we add to our team. But it's not only about the Bengals, but this is just an exciting day. Obviously, Brian's a Gamecock fan. I'm a Syracuse fan. Tom, who's your college team?
You know that, the University of Cincinnati Bearcats.
Okay.
Who had more players drafted last year? Third overall in all of college football, third overall. Not as big this year, but still there.
I didn't even know that. But Brian's super busy today, so he's carved out about 15 to 20 minutes of his time. And Brian, thank you so much for joining us. I heard you Sunday with Ken Brew on 700 WLW. Great appearance there, and thank you for carving out a couple minutes to join us here tonight.
Hey, anytime for this podcast. I love you guys. I love coming on here, man. It's awesome, and it's 364 days leading up to this for me. You know, I know a lot of, Bengals fans, they really don't get into it until, 2 weeks before the draft. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? I'm looking at these guys, I'm looking at next year's guys already. So it's a never ending cycle for me.
Draft day, we know, can be crazy. Any last minute buzz that you're hearing? As I'm looking at ESPN on another screen, 1 hour and 57 minutes to they go live. Any last minute buzz? Houston going to trade out of 2? Anything going on? We saw the Lamar Jackson signing earlier, highest paid player in the NFL now. A lot of guaranteed money. Certainly not all guaranteed. Exactly. We know what's going to happen. But anything that's come up as of late here?
I think Houston's going to stand pat, I should say. I don't think they're going to bail out. I think we're going to see 1-2, and I think for the first time in the common draft era, and I know this is going to be hard to believe, as good as they are as a program, we're going to see an Alabama player go number 1 overall. This has never happened in the common draft era. It's going to happen tonight. Bryce Young, quarterback from Alabama, is going to be the number 1 pick to the Carolina Panthers. I think Bama's going to go 1-2. I think Will Anderson's going to be the pick of the Texans at 2. I think, common sense is finally going to prevail. If they're not going to take a quarterback, I think they really wanted Bryce Young, to be honest. If they're not going to take a quarterback, take Will Anderson. I heard a lot of buzz about Tyree Wilson being the pick here. Don't think that's going to happen. A lot of concerns about his back being an issue, and I think that could cause maybe a minor slide for him tonight. But I think the action's really going to pick up at 3. I feel like it would just be malpractice of an organization if Arizona doesn't bail out here. They have so many needs.
Hold that thought, Brian. With breaking news, the Cardinals are working on trading DeAndre Hopkins and the 3rd overall pick to the Titans for the 11th overall pick and more, per Mike Florio. So breaking live here on Bengal Jim's. Again, Cardinals are working on trading DeAndre Hopkins and the 3rd overall pick to the Titans for the 11th overall pick and more, per Mike Florio. So,
well, as football fans, we want to thank whichever agent wanted that leaked out, because they certainly knew right where to go to. But the guy to go to. But
does nobody like Florio? Because I do. I mean, does anybody like that guy?
And to his credit, you know what? That guy throws so much crap up against the wall. Maybe this one sticks. It may just stick for him. And congratulations.
And to be honest, if that trade does come to fruition, it makes a ton of sense for the Titans, because they want to get ahead of the Colts inner division. We know the Colts are taking a quarterback. They're moving up to get a quarterback, whether it's going to be C.J. Stroud from Ohio State, whether it's going to be Will Levis from Kentucky. I don't think it's going to be for Anthony Richardson. I think it's going to be for one of the other two. And so give them credit for getting ahead of the Colts and a division rival, and getting the quarterback that the Colts probably want to take at 4.
So what you're saying is projecting with the first 4 picks are all going to be quarterbacks. No, none of the defensive players like maybe was talked about.
I think the defense is going second. I think the Texans are going to pick Will Anderson at 2. And then I think you'll see quarterback at 3 and then probably quarterback at 4. I think the Colts will take whichever one that potentially the Titans don't select at 3, if that is indeed the move for coming up. So, yeah, we could see quarterback, defense, quarterback. I don't see a scenario where we're going to see all 4 spots go QB.
One thing to add to that before we hop off of that, all the breaking news is it was reported this morning that the Seahawks owner, before they left to go to the draft or, to get into the draft meetings tonight, had told management and Coach Carroll, if you like one of these quarterbacks that are going to be gone before we pick at 5, go up and get them. So,
yeah, and they have the ammo to do it. And, they've got the extra picks from the Russell Wilson trade. So, I mean, if your guy's there, go get your guy. And that's at all levels of the draft. And we saw the Bengals do that last year in the second round with Cam Taylor-Britt. Cam Taylor-Britt was their guy. They went up and got him. And that worked out. That was a great, judge of talent there by Duke Tobin and that staff. So if your guy's there, and I say the Bengals, if they want one of these guys in the first round, I'll want as many picks as we can. Don't get me wrong, but if that guy helps you get to win a Super Bowl, go up and get them. Do what you got to do.
Staying on the quarterbacks before we talk about our beloved Cincinnati Bengals, Hendon Hooker slide into round 1. Do you think, Brian?
It would benefit the Bengals, that's for sure. I don't think so. I find it hard that some of these teams, the 5th-year option seems to be getting overblown here. It used to be a thing, I believe, that teams wanted. Now, being it's fully guaranteed, you're seeing a lot more declines of that 5th-year option. So I don't think the whole let's get in the bottom half of the first round to get that option on a quarterback is a thing that we're going to see. So for that, I think Hendon Hooker's better than Will Levis and Anthony Richardson. But he's going to probably sit most or half the year, or it's going to have no build up towards the beginning of the season because of the ACL tear in November.
Tom, go ahead.
Yeah. Brian, flipping to our local team, any word about any other players that we've read about that were in the teens, in the low 20s that are sliding? There's been one school of thought with a lot of the scribes here in town that, the guy the Bengals are going to end up at 28 is a guy nobody is anticipating because he's going to slide to them and he's going to be very high on their board. Last year, Dax Hill was number 11 on their board. They got him at 31. I can remember the year we drafted Tyler Eifert, I believe, at 21. And he was number 6 overall on their board. Is there a guy out there that's sliding? I mean, heard little rumblings, certain guys are on the rise, certain guys are falling. I don't know how that's possible since nobody's played in the last several months. But even Joey Porter Jr. might be sliding a little bit. Banks, the cornerback from Maryland, could be sliding down into the lower 20s. Have you heard anybody like that who might fall into our lap?
I think the one player that makes sense to me from a need and a standpoint is Kalijah Cansey, the defensive tackle from Pitt. I think because going through the mock draft process last night when I was doing my final mock, it was very hard for me to almost had to force him into a spot just to get him into the first round because the needs and everything didn't match up and I didn't feel good about anywhere I was really sliding him. So when you start seeing stuff like that, that's the kind of guy you can see. Emmanuel Forbes, I think, is the guy that we've all, like the last few weeks especially, have latched on to. This is starting to feel like Frank Ragnow 2.0, where it's the guy that we all think that they're going to draft if he's on the board and then he gets sniped 1 or 2 picks ahead, or in some cases I've seen him going as high as 16. So he may not be an option anymore. But as far as sliding, I think Cansey is a guy. Miles Murphy, defensive end from Clemson, is another I think could slide down and could be of interest to the Bengals. I think they brought him in for a visit. He's definitely a Lou Anarumo prototype defensive end.
Let's talk about Emmanuel Forbes a little bit more. There was one list today that had him as one of the top 8 potential first-round busts, and simply because of his size. We know cornerback is a need for the Bengals. Bouzier's got 1 year left. We like what we have in Cam Taylor-Britt on the opposite side. Would you agree with that sentiment that Forbes is a little bit light and may not make it in the NFL?
Not unlike Cansey, he's an outlier, right? Because Cansey with the short arms makes him an outlier in the process. The weight of Forbes makes him an outlier. But if you watch the tape in the run game, when he's, he doesn't know he's 166 pounds when he's out there on the field. He hits in the run game. He's not afraid to make a tackle. And that's not something I can say about some of these other corners. Even Joey Porter Jr., you watch some of him, sometimes he's a, little hesitant to get in there. And the same with Deontay Banks. Deontay Banks is almost scared to make a tackle sometimes when you watch him on tape. So as far as that goes, Forbes isn't scared. And there isn't a better corner in this class as far as ball skills go than Emmanuel Forbes. He's 6 career pick sixes, 3 this past season. He's got a nose for the football, and you can't teach that, man. It's like those kind of instincts are just natural to a player, and that's why I think a lot of people like Emmanuel Forbes here. And, height, wingspan, everything else fits, what the Bengals look for. It's just the 166 pounds. It's not great.
We'll feed him. And anybody that doubted Emmanuel Forbes, for so much of our audience, ask Kentucky how good Emmanuel Forbes was last year. He had an incredible game and against Will Levens. So, but one of the things that you and I have talked about off the air, and you mentioned on the air, and it might still be the overall preference is Jerry Jones, who was a famous draft guru from here in Cincinnati. Unfortunately, we lost him several years ago. Used to talk about the frustration of when you're drafting in the back of the draft, which is a good thing because you had a good year. There are some years you're drafting 25th or 26th, and it's a 24-player draft. I almost, with a lot of these mocks, that's why I said I hope somebody slides to them, but it's going to be a 27-player draft. I'm worried the guys in front of their board are going to be gone. I still hope for a trade. Who do you see at the top of the second round? And it's not going to be the Steelers. Who do you see that we can pick up the phone or maybe calling us that wants to move us and gets us that extra 4th-round pick?
I feel like a part of me wants to say that it's going to be one of the teams that could be in play for Hendon Hooker, even though I said I don't think it's a deal that might happen. That's where you look at. And I'm looking at someone like Detroit, who has, I want to say, like pick 33. I'm trying to pull that up right quick. But they're a team. The Raiders, top of the 3rd round, could be another team. They basically got Jimmy Garoppolo on what is a 1-year deal. If you look at how the contract is structured, those are 2 teams off the top of my head that I could see being in play. Yeah, maybe Houston, if they don't get a quarterback at 2 or 12, they pick 33. Maybe they want to come up 5 spots and get Hendon Hooker as well. The Colts, maybe they don't get the quarterback at 4. So it's look at Seattle has Denver's 2nd-round pick at 37, another spot right there that they could. So look at the quarterback needy teams at the top of round 2, and that could be your spot to go for a team if the Bengals are looking for a trade back. But I can guarantee you this: the Bengals are not alone in wanting to move back. Buffalo, probably Philadelphia, all teams candidates to move back. So takes 2 to tango, and there could be offers going all around there.
If there's a place for Hendon Hooker to go, Seattle might be the best because he can rest up, learn, and heal up for a year behind Geno Smith and move on. So, and I think the Bengals could still get the type of guy they want at that pick.
And I think the same can be said about Minnesota as well. What Kirk Cousins has 1 year left, somebody else that could potentially move up, let him sit behind Kirk for a year, and then take advantage of that.
Minnesota doesn't have a 2nd-round pick. So
it would be sliding further back.
Yeah, you have to go way that. And plus they would be picking 55 in the 2nd round. You don't want to go that far back. So
there was a rumor around, maybe it was New Orleans, I don't remember, but it was like pushing us all the way back to a 3rd, gaining another 2nd rounder last year, which didn't sound appetizing for what we needed. With that said, Jennifer has a question about Michael Mayer. I looked, like all of us, we've done 73,000 mock drafts. Tight end is a position where I think we're all in agreement. There's a lot of good players in the draft this year at the tight end position. I feel that same way about running back. Jahmyr Gibbs has been a hot name as of late. I think we can find a lot of value later in the draft. Going back to that tight end position, if somebody like Michael Mayer falls to us, can you see the Bengals going there with the 28th pick?
I say yes, with the caveat that all of the offensive tackles are gone and Cansey's gone. I think all of that would have to be out of play, and the corners. I think they would value those picks above tight end because of what you said, because they aren't really having to force the issue. They got two rental players there at the position right now. Before the draft, that you made it not a necessity. Like if you had not signed Irv Smith and to a lesser extent Drew Sample, you would have almost had to pick a tight end here, right? So now you don't have to. You can wait until the second, third round and see where the value is instead of maybe being forced into, say, Darnell Washington or maybe Sam Laporta or Luke Musgrave or one of those guys at 28. If you slide back into the top of the second round, I think you bring those guys back in play. I don't think Michael Mayer is going to be on the board at 28. It's almost the worst kept secret out there that Dallas loves him at 26. So that would almost, and I think Kincaid will be long gone before 28.
Michael Mayer's pro comparison is Jason Witten. So yeah, he'd make a perfect Cowboy, and it's he'd make a great Bengal too. Don't get me wrong, but I don't see him getting past the Cowboys.
Certainly a busy night for Brian. We appreciate him. We got him for a couple more minutes. Let's talk about that 28th pick. I'm on the side where we're going to go defensive side of the ball. Tom, I think, shares some of those same sentiments, whether it's cornerback, whether it's the defensive end Murphy, whether it's Clancy, whether it's Breezy, however you say it, the defensive tackle out of Clemson. If you had to put your money up, Brian, would you say without a doubt, we're probably going to go defense versus offense, higher probability going defense here with pick 28.
I will say I have put money on this, and I spread it around two spots. I put a little money on corner, put some money on defensive line, edge rusher. Those had the best juice. Tight end had the best odds on the books. I just don't feel like that's gonna happen. I think corner, Forbes, Porter Jr., Deontay Banks. I think those are the three guys. And to a lesser extent, Keely Ringo. I think I just want to mention his name just in case. Sleeper name on the defensive line to look out for at 28. I think it's too high, but a sleeper name at defensive tackle is Keanu Benton from Wisconsin. Great Senior Bowl, great workouts. Sleeper name, just throwing it out there. I think they would actually prefer him to Brian Brzee from Clemson. I think they would take Cansey before Benton, but Benton before Brzee. And there's one rumor floating around today that I don't like. James, I don't know if you'll like it or not, but it involves a player from the beautiful Syracuse University. People are linking the Bengals in the first round to Matthew Bergeron, the offensive tackle from Syracuse. I think Bergeron's a good player. At 60, I would be okay with that. At 28,
yeah, I would agree. They mentioned his character comes from Quebec up in Canada. Great kid, good family guy. Played on both sides of the line at Syracuse. That kind of great preface to my next question. Offensive line, specifically right tackle, is probably the one glaring need that we need to protect Joe. Going through a lot of the mocks that I did, if we picked an offensive tackle, I had it maybe going 4th or 5th round, best case scenario. You just mentioned Bergeron there, potentially in the first. If you had to put your money on it, do you see us drafting an offensive tackle or even offensive lineman in the first 3 rounds?
If you told me of all the perceived needs that the Bengals didn't draft, I will say complete through 7 rounds. If you said name one position they will ignore completely, offensive tackle would probably be at the highest on my list, because those are the players that you see the runs go on early and mid part of almost every round, right, is offensive tackle. And if you don't pick one at 28, and I don't think those guys are going to be there. Darnell Wright, that dream is over, right, for the most part. Broderick Jones, Anton Harrison may be available there, but you're asking him to convert from left to right tackle. I don't know that I like that. So you get into the second round, that's where I think you can bring in a Bergeron, maybe Blake Freeland from BYU. Those guys. But I like Tyler Steen in the third round as a potential fit because he can, swing around a little bit. So, but after that, man, you're just drafting a swing backup at that point.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Tom, go ahead.
With the needs they have, if you're going to say cornerback, if you're going to say defensive line, if you're going to say tight end, running back, and right tackle, that's 5. In the first 4 rounds, something's not going to fit. If they don't make a trade and pick up an extra pick in round 4 or maybe round 3, I agree with you. I think when the music's all said and done after round 4, that offensive tackle is going to be the position still standing.
I said this on the show a few weeks ago, and I'm going to repeat it again now. If they do not draft an offensive tackle, I'm going to say in the first 2 rounds, Jonah Williams is a starting right tackle week 1 for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Ooh, bold statement.
And
before we let you go ahead, Tom.
If they do draft an offensive tackle in the first 2 rounds,
Jonah's traded on day 3. Yeah.
Okay. One last, again, we appreciate your time, Brian. We know this is a busy day, but running back, we talked about Joe Mixon with you a couple of weeks ago. Brian in Iowa, good value blocking and catching running back in the later rounds. As I said earlier, I think there's a lot of great running backs in this draft where we can pick up value 3, 4, 5, even 6th rounds. To answer Brian's question, mid 3rd through 6th round, who would be your guy there if he's available?
How about 2nd round? Because in my final mock draft, that's where I had the Bengals going in the 2nd round. And a lot of mock draft simulators, I've seen a lot, had the Bengals picking him in the 3rd round. I think you go get your guy if this is your guy. And that's the guy who was the backup at Texas behind Bijan Robinson. Roschon Johnson, he can run. He's equipped to run in the Bengals offense out of the shotgun. He's a great pass blocker already. He can catch the ball. He can run in between the tackles like you want in this offense. I think he is the guy that would fit this offense. He wouldn't take the offense to another level like I think Jahmyr Gibbs will, but I think Roschon Johnson is the perfect replacement for Joe Mixon. And like I said, but being behind Robinson, he hasn't took the abuse, that a lot of these running backs have in college football. So I think that's I think you have to get him in the 2nd round or he's not going to be there at 92.
Tom, we want to be respectful of Brian's time. You asked the final question of him.
Brian, we're going to do it for all of us. Give us a name. Give us the name. Do we have anybody from Kansas City, by the way, James? Do we have a live?
No, he's in the penalty box still. So.
Okay. All right. Give us the name. There's no trade that's going to happen. You're in the war room with Duke Tobin. Who do you pick up the phone and call Kansas City with? Who's the name this year? In
my final mock draft, I had Emmanuel Forbes, cornerback, Mississippi State. Just the way the board fell. So I've got to stick with what I had. So that's what I'm going to go with, Emmanuel Forbes.
You're sticking with Dave Lapham. That's good company.
Dave's always dialed in. Dave's the one that cost us Frank Ragnow a couple of years ago. So. I kid. I love Dave. He's great.
I'm gonna go defensive side of the ball. I'm gonna go Clancy. Again, if he's there, I think Tom, you and I were talking earlier. Lou values that pass rush on the inside. You made a great point, Tom, especially with Lamar Jackson re-signing. We got scrambling quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson and Deshaun Watson in the AFC North. Push that pocket from the inside out. That's my guy. Tom?
I'm going to take a name nobody's talking about. I'm going to except for Deepfried a few moments ago. I'm going to take Miles Murphy, defensive end from Clemson. I think he is prototypical in what Lou looks for as one of his edges in his form of offense. And then my trade backup, if they trade back into round 2, is I don't know if necessarily I'm disagreeing with Brian, but it is Bracy also from Clemson. And I put a lot of that on the fact that he can play both ends. He can play both tackles. And that's the kind of guy Lou loves. But also, I think the Bengals have met with him 3 times. I think they brought him into town. I know they met with him at the Combine. And they sent several coaches down to Clemson's Pro Day and spent a lot of time with him. So that's my pick and my trade pick.
With Brazilla's potential, it's there. You just got to get it out of him.
Yep. And a rough senior season with his sister dying, I believe it was. So
Right.
Obviously that's a tough way to end your college career with all that going on. Brian, as always, great friend of the show. We
James,
appreciate everything
can
you
Brian
do. Yes.
tell everybody about his show starting?
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Let's tell them where they can find you.
Every night, tomorrow, all day Saturday, go to youtube.com/thedraftcountdown. We will go pick 1 to pick 259. When the NFL Network and ESPN's giving you a bunch of dreck on day 3 or talking about what happened on day 1 and not telling you what happened with the pick, we're going to tell you about the pick before the television ever even says the pick was made.
Repeat that one more time. youtube.com/thedraftcountdown. All right, Brian. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy Thursday. We appreciate all you do. Go Bengals. Go Gamecocks. Hoo day, buddy.
Hoo day, guys.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Brian. Enjoy.
All righty.
Giving us
What
time.
Just great guy. Busy day. We know it for all the draft experts. And, going back to what Brian does at the Reese's Bowl, I mean, gosh, live and die. That guy lives and die by the draft. Bengals fan, just a overall great guy. So we appreciate him taking time. Anything to wrap up here? We know some of us, including myself, will be headed down to Paycor for the draft party. So all the Bengals fans that'll be down there a little bit later, look forward to seeing you. Jimmy was on a little bit earlier. We'll see if he pops up here real quick. He is live in Kansas City with our buddy Brandon there. So hope those guys are having fun. We saw Corey here. Corey's going to be in the inner circle tonight. So congratulations to Corey. Have fun to Bengal Warrior. We saw our buddy Mon type in and give us a hello. Hope all is well in Florida. But again, this is exciting. I think if you look at it, we end the night. Heck, Tom, we might end the night with no pick and circle back to tomorrow with some extra value.
Stay up late for nothing. And I know you're headed over to Paycor right now in moments. You'll rush over there for the party. So stay in touch. I'll be here in the man cave monitoring things. And, hopefully we get a guy. And if not, we get the right trade to help the team even more.
And then let's talk about Sunday, because we have another regular show Sunday, and then tell the fans what's going to happen kind of in our off season. Coming up, I believe it's May 11th is the tentative date for the NFL schedule. So we can plan our fall and get all the vacations and whatever else we have planned. But tell everybody the schedule as we come up on what is a short off season.
Sunday night, we'll have a big draft review show, 8:00 right here. Please, everybody be here. I'm hoping I have to be here. I may have a work conflict, but hopefully I should be here. And after that, we will go dark, as we term it within the circle here. We will go dark. Doesn't mean we're not working. We're getting ready for Jungle to the Hall.
Is this Aaron Rodgers dark, or is this just dark?
It's like because what Jamie is in.
I was going to say, because Jamie's been like Aaron Rodgers dark for the last 3
that's
months.
Another story. I'm hearing like he's got a really long beard and it's not pretty, but I know Aaron's checking on him and I've been trying to get messages into him, but we're not getting anything back. But he will be back. He's I guess doing well.
He's out of the Buffalo jail. That's a good thing. So
that was the main thing. We got him out of jail. But
yes.
So then after that, we will not be on. We'll take our little break through May, with the exception of, as James said, whatever night, and the NFL moves it around a little bit, whatever night they announce the schedule, we intend to have a live show. They normally do it at 8:00. So we'll intend being on 8:00 with reaction, anger, frustration. The NFL's out to get us, everything we do every year. And so we'll do that. And also getting ready for the big celebration, Jungle to the Hall, June 10th at the Banks. always be checking our social media for announcements. We've got an incredible list of Bengal legends that we're going to celebrate and keep pushing toward the Hall of Fame. And it's just going to be a great day to celebrate being a fan and Bengaldom. And also, though, look for this. It would be the night of, if there should be an announcement of a very, very, very big contract extension at some point, look for us to go live that night too, with some reaction and hopefully some appropriate guests. So yeah, I think maybe if a quarterback gets extension, and our quarterback, not the one in Baltimore.
Yes, the highest paid. I agree, David. David put enough of the mocks. It's game time now. So
let's go.
This is exciting times, and it's a good problem to be drafted way at the end of first round. Hopefully, we'll be number 32 next year. But Tom, as always, we appreciate everything. Hopefully, Jimmy, Brandon, Corey, third down guy, are having a great time out there in Kansas City. And join us here Sunday as we recap the newest Bengals. Maybe we'll have a Syracuse player. Maybe we'll have a Cincinnati player. But at the end of the day, I think we'll have a better team after our 7 picks here this weekend. So, as always, we appreciate everybody for joining us. Who Day, have fun. For those heading to Paycor, we'll see you there in a little bit. Who Day, everybody.
Who Day.